My lords, ladies and gentlemen, hello once again and welcome back to Transport Fever 2. This is episode number 2 of the new hard mode playthrough, let's play series, whatever you want to call it. And we're starting this episode dipping our toes in the river that runs past the shoreline at West Ham, the town we were looking at in the first episode. And as I discussed at the end of the last episode, I have allowed the game to play with the date progression paused, just to allow the lines to bed in, some money to accumulate, and things to settle down and see where we're looking and how things are going. So what we're going to do, let's bring up the UI. As we can see, we have £3 million in the bank and a cash flow of just over £1 million over the past rolling 12 months. Now, you're immediately going to notice a few things a little different about West Ham. The first major change, obviously, is that we have a bus service. We have two bus services. We have an inner city bus that runs just around West Ham, like so, just to get the people around and about. And we have two buses operating on that line, and that's a profit or balance of just under 15,000 or so over the past 12 months. The other line we have is an intercity bus that runs out to the nearby city of Portishead. We have 6 buses here, and this is very profitable. And as you can see here in Portishead, it's also very popular. So that's West Ham. In Portishead, we also have an intercity bus, so just on a small loop. Only the one bus running on this line. That's enough for now. Although just looking at it there, we are starting to attract quite a few passengers. So having a second bus run through Portishead might be commercially viable as well. We have the bricks delivery trucks obviously heading into West Ham. I've been balancing the rates as best I can, and at the moment we're hitting 100 out of 115 in terms of the supply of the construction materials to West Ham, and that's triggered a growth jump of plus 90%, which equals 138 residents. The stone train has had a slight upgrade as well. It's had an extra 2 wagons added to the consist. It's still rated as good, and it still does hit 50 miles per hour on the normal and medium gradients. And it does get up to top speed by the time it hits the station over at the West Ham brickworks, so we're up to 40 miles an hour. Obviously the acceleration isn't quite as rapid as it was previously due to the extra weight of the 2 new wagons, but the increased profit margin from those 2 extra wagons more than makes up for that. And if we open the finance screen for this train, we can see the profits have been rising, and here is where I added here's where I added the first extra wagon, and here is where I added the second extra wagon. So that's looking good. The quarry is still only level 1, production of 600. We're transporting 91% out of the 200 that get produced per year. And over here, our brick material plant, or construction material plant if you will, has hit level 2. We are producing 178 per year, and we're shipping 111 of those, and we're actually shipping all 111. The only problem we're having at the moment is we do just start running out of stone as the train arrives. Now we might want to decide at this point, do we want to add yet another consist or another wagon onto this train's consist, or do we add a second train on the line? As we can see, we have a lot of stone on platform at the quarry, so we could accommodate a second train. But what we don't want to do is risk oversaturating this line and this brickworks with stone. However, what we could do is if we do have 2 trains, we could drop one of the wagons off of the original train's consist and then match the new train with, would it be 5 wagons? Let's count 1, 2, 3, 6. We could have 6 and 6 rather than just 7. So that's not quite doubling our current throughput, but it might be enough to prevent this line from being oversaturated and then starting to lose money. Now, if we wanted to do that, we would need in the area of £5 million, which obviously we don't have available at the moment. We have £3.3 million. However, what we could do, in fact, let's have a look how much it would be. So if we have the A35, and did we say 6 wagons for the consist? I think we did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, just shy of £6 million required, so we're about halfway there. And this is what the rating would be. We'd hit top speed in 50 seconds or just over half a kilometre, and we'd hit top speed on a medium gradient at just over 1 kilometre or 74 seconds. This train, as it stands right now, with the extra, with a 7th consist, it takes 53 seconds or around about 3/4 of a kilometre to hit its top speed on a flat gradient. So we would be hitting our top speed around about 200 metres sooner. We already have a passing loop in place, although looking at it now I realise it's not quite central on the line. So what we could do is just knock in a junction here and have quite a long passing loop, and then that would give us plenty of room for our trains to pass one another without getting in each other's way. The other line we have is running very smoothly over here. This was the plastics production line, and as we can see on our line manager screen, if we go to balance, this is our big money earner, getting us around about £400,000 per calendar year. Or, well, it's not per calendar year, is it? It's over a 12-month rolling basis. So this is the backbone and what's propping us up at the minute, although saying that all of our lines are profitable, which explains our very healthy cash flow down here. So this line doesn't need any tweaks or adjustments, I don't think. The spacing's pretty good. There's still a slight gap here. I have added, I think I added about five vehicles onto that line off camera, so that's helped fill in the gaps just a little. Looking at this station here in Portishead, this intercity bus is growing in popularity quite substantially. And we've also got quite a few waiting over here in West Ham as well. More than a full busload's worth. Obviously our bus capacity is only 8 passengers. At the moment we have 11, 12, 13 seats, jumping up all the while. So I think it's worthwhile adding perhaps 2 more buses onto our intercity bus line. That would take us to 8 in total. So let's do that first of all. There we go. We're still using this vehicle depot up here, so it does take a while for the buses to get down to the line, but that's fine. Now, in terms of our future plans for today's episode, what I would like to do is have a line that leaves the West Ham Brickworks station and heads over to Portishead. As we can see, Portishead does require bricks, so supplying that town with the bricks would be clearly beneficial to us. It'd boost our residents, our population in Portishead, which in turn is going to boost the amount of people using our little bus loops. So it's all worthwhile, and obviously we're going to make money on the cargo deliveries themselves, so it's a win-win-win. In between episodes I was looking at some of the industries and I've noticed a few interesting things. We spotted it yesterday with this brickworks construction materials plant, that some of them are using the vanilla recipes. As we can see, this one here is using the vanilla, whereas this one is a little bit more elaborate. Now that's the same for quite a few. For example, this Whitnash Tools factory is using our vanilla recipe, however this one is using steel. This goods factory requires paper, silver and all sorts of other gubbins, whereas this good factory is the vanilla ingredients. This chemical plant only requires grain, this one requires fuel. Now in my mind I've kind of role-played it, if you will, that for example this, as I've renamed it, is a biochemical plant and this is just a normal chemical plant. Similarly, we could say that this is a heavy-duty tools factory, maybe power tools in 1910, but yes, you know, the heavy industry tooling, whereas this one is more your DIY tooling. So just to justify, not that I have to justify it of course, but just to make it make sense in my own mind, that's what I'm going for, and I'm sticking with it. Not sure why that is, not sure why some industries are using vanilla, some are using the modded recipes, but Ah well, it's what we've got to deal with, and we can deal with it and justify it quite reasonably, I think. Okay, so now comes the decision time. Do we spend our money on doubling up this train supplying the stone? Because as we can see, we are starting to get close to running out. So let's just send it to 4 times acceleration once again. Now, the train does arrive just a few seconds after the stone is exhausted. As we can see here, it drops to 0, but the train is just about to pull in alongside, so it's not affecting production too much, but it is enough to slow down our delivery vehicles. As we can see, this one here only has 2 or 5 rather than the 5 out of 5, and that's going to affect our line balance rates. So I do think increasing the stone supply to here is the more pressing need rather than setting up a new line over to Portishead. So that's what we'll do next. We'll just let our cash flow increase, or rather we'll let our bank balance increase to just under 6 million or just over 6 million, so we have a little bit of leeway as a security blanket, if you will, in case this all goes arse over tit. I don't think it will. I think the 2 trains will be more than good enough for this, and it shouldn't cause us too many cash flow problems. Obviously, we will be doubling the maintenance costs, but we're also doubling our income, so I think we're gonna be okay. Now, soon after that, though, to make sure we're not oversaturating, we are going to want to start delivering over to Portishead. Now, initially, what we could do is deliver by road vehicle. We have obviously the first line going to West Ham. Now, it would be quite a journey for the early day trucks to get all the way over to Portishead via the road system, but it's going to be better than nothing and just having this swamp with stone when it's only supplying the 1 town. So I think that's what we'll do. We'll see how the line beds in with 2 trains first of all. We might be fine, we don't know yet, but if it's not, then as a temporary fix, because it's going to be a lot cheaper to buy a handful of vehicles to supply Portishead than it is to buy a train and lay in a track and a station all the way over to Portishead. That's going to cost us several £1,000,000 very, very easily. So yes, just doing the vehicle option will only cost us maybe £500,000, including the purchasing of a handful of vehicles to run the line. So that's what we'll do. So we'll put a little cut in the episode here, just while we let the money accumulate in the background. Once we get to, I'll aim for about 6.5 million, I think, we'll pick it back up, and then we'll double the stone trains, drop a wagon off this one, and have 6 per locomotive, and see how that does for our line rates, and make sure we're not oversaturating. So back in a moment. Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, we've just tipped over 6 million, just under 6.2 million to be precise, which is not very precise. If you want to be precise, it's £6,195,792. There we go. So we can afford this train now, the 6 consist locomotive for the stone. So let's go ahead and buy that. Let's colour it grey, put it on the line, and then what we want to do, as soon as this initial train has made its delivery, which it now has, we want to quickly pause it, edit the train, and we need to get rid of one of the wagons from the consist. That's going to give us a refund of £242,000, as we've just seen. So that's going to get us a little bit away from the negative numbers, which we don't want to be finding ourselves in. And then it's a case of seeing just how well this line now does with the 2 trains running on it. So let's take a few moments and have a look. Now, of course, one of the things we are going to want to have to do, or need to do, is just adjust this passing loop, because as I said, it's too far to one side. It's nowhere near the centre. I don't know what I was thinking when I put it in there, but there you go. So once we've got the money, because obviously laying the tracks is going to be quite expensive, we'll just extend the passing loop up maybe to the border of this forest here, into this little clearing, and this is where we'll have our junction, and we could put a few extra passing signals along the extended passing loop. I have figured out what I was doing wrong with that auto signal mod. You put it at the back end of your length of track, and then it'll do it for the rest of the track. So for example, when we extend this up to here, if we put a signal, or delete this one and replace it and set a spacing of say 400 meters, it will put a signal every 400 meters up to where the tracks then merge into the next junction point or the next signal. So now that we've got a bit of money to spare, let's see if we can afford to put this track in place, shall we? So we want standard tracks. We'll keep, yes, we've got catenary already. So we'll start here at the junction point, and we'll go from this catenary mast. Now clearly we want this to be as rapid as possible. There we go, 75 miles an hour. And that was only 12,000, which stands us in good stead for the rest of the track lane. And if we quickly pause it now, because our train's going to get quite upset when we delete this little junction here, or this little switch. And then if we bring them together like that, and as I said, if we then delete this signal, and then from here onwards, we'll go to, well, first go to rail line, signals, auto signal, yes, one way, yes, signal spacing, shall we have, say, 500 meters? We don't need too many. And if we go to replace existing, it should then from there onwards put it on the right track. Has it put any more in? Yes, it has. It's put one just there. And then what we'll do is, we know that this is then 400 meters. So if we get it level with that signal, which is there we go. Now, if it's not put another signal in, because this one, as we know, due to the level pegging nature of these two, is a 400 meter gap, so there's no space for any other signals in there. Now, if we want to, we could put another one just at the end, or just before the junction point here. We can unpause it again now. So let's just turn off auto signal. And if we want to put one just at the end, which allows our trains to inch that little bit closer to the platform, it might be that little bit more efficient for us. And there we go. Now our train should bed in quite nicely, and we shall see what the line rate is going to look like. At the moment, we are not exhausting the stone on the platform, which is good, because we don't want our trains to be waiting around unnecessarily. And we're now keeping this very, very well supplied with bricks, or with stone I should say, which in turn is ensuring that all our vehicles are able to pick up a full load of bricks pretty much almost immediately. As we can see, there's already 7 waiting, and by the time the next vehicle arrives, we've got more than 5 bricks available. So that's looking good, and hopefully in terms of cash flow we should see a healthy increase from the 2 trains. Obviously we did reduce the original train's consist size down to 6 already, so that's been done. Let's have a look at the line manager. Okay, it was negative there for a moment, so we'll keep an eye on it and make sure it's not going to stay negative. Intercity bus line is doing very well for itself. 150,000 for a bus line in this early stage is pretty damn good, I think. I'm happy with that. It's just making sure that this stone freight line isn't overextending the production or putting too much pressure on our quarry here, which is still only level 1, as we can see. But it does have a production rate of 600, or a maximum production of 600 per year, so I think we should be okay. Our trains are carrying 48, so as long as by the time the next train arrives, it's on its way now, we have more than 48 available, I think we're going to be okay. As we can see here, if needed, we could drop one more wagon off of each consist, take it down to 5, and see what that does, if we do find that we are pushing the limit over here. Obviously, we did have quite a bit of reserve stone up here when we bought the train. I think it was around about 200. The platform was full. So we're not getting a true reflection just yet, because we are still, or we have been burning through that excess. As we can see now, the next train is almost on platform, and we're not yet at 48. Although we're not too far off. So we could drop a wagon off if we wanted. Oh no, it's just picked up 48 just as it arrived. But obviously that's now fully emptied the platform near enough when this train left. So this is going to be the real test now. When this train gets here, how much is waiting? And are we going to have to be sat on platform for an unnecessary amount of time? As you may well know, however, while your trains are sat on platform like this one is having to do now, you do pay reduced maintenance costs for the train, but that won't apply to the train if it's waiting at this signal for this one to clear off. So we'll have to make a decision as to whether it's worthwhile having the 2 trains running with 6 or 2 trains running with 5. And I think I'm leaning towards having both trains just having 5 wagons on their consist. So we'll do that. We'll change this one first of all, since it's almost back at base, if you will. So that's now 5. We don't want to change this one yet because it has a full load in its 6th wagon, and that would be a waste of money if we're just to get rid of it. So once it offloads here, we'll then sell a wagon on this one. There we go. Edit, drop one off. There. And then we'll keep an eye on that and see if 10 wagons in total, obviously that's 10 between the 2 trains, is enough to keep up with production while not leaving our trains short and waiting on the platform unnecessarily. So we'll see what happens with that. Obviously we've already jumped back up to 2 million, so we must be doing something right somewhere. So we are having to wait a little bit there, as we saw, but having reduced our capacity by 8, it isn't quite as much as it once was. We're still good over here because they have plenty of stone reserves, so we'll have to keep an eye on this just to make sure this doesn't start running down to 0. I don't think it would do. I mean, with 1 train and 7 wagons, we were just hitting 0 as the train arrived. So with 2 trains and 10 wagons, I don't think we will hit 0. Of course, that will change when it starts leveling up, and then we'll have to increase our train and frequencies over here. So that's something we'll have to bear in mind as well. But while that's bedding in, I think it's time we plan our next move. Now, as I said, we could go for a road delivery line into Portishead, carrying the bricks first of all, just as a cheaper option. Or we could save the money for a train. I think, to start with, we'll just use the road vehicles. Not quite, it's not going to have the same money draw as a train would, but at the same time, they're not quite the same money sinks either, especially the initial investment. So our wagons are still leaving fully loaded, although they are having to wait a little bit, but that's fine because we have pretty good space in between our trucks at the moment, so we're not having a backlog of trucks queuing to get on platform. That's the main thing. But anyway, let's leave that to do its thing, and we'll put down a second truck station. We'll have it as parallel as we can with the first one, so somewhere like that. And we'll just give it the say, oh, we'll need to change this one's name. This is West Ham Brickworks, and this will also be called West Ham Brickworks, like so. Let's go ahead, configure it to have our second road access point, and then we want street connections. We may as well utilize the existing junction if we can. That's a bit right angled, but it's going to work fine, I'm sure. So that's that. We need a drop-off point in Portishead for the bricks, and here's our industrial sector, so we're going to have it somewhere around here. And what I might do is first of all select the straight road tool and just manually finish this road here and have our drop-off point somewhere around here, because that should give us full capture. In fact, let's just upgrade that there as well. It's going to cost us quite a bit of money because we've had to remove 1 industrial building, but so be it. Buildings, truck unload stop. Yeah, that's a decent enough capture there. It's covering everything we need it to cover. And we'll call this Portishead Industry Drop-Off. And now we can set up the brick delivery line into Portishead. So new line, we're going from West Ham Brickworks into Portishead. Red colour. We want fully loaded with the 30 seconds maximum wait time. And you're just loading the bricks, which are right there. And this will be bricks delivery Portishead. There we go. So now we can buy some trucks for this. We've got over 2 million, so plenty in the bank. To start with, let's go for maybe 10 of them. So we want the DMG Cannstatt. 10 will cost us just under 400,000, which is more than affordable. On the line to Portishead. What I will do as well is put a waypoint just here so our trucks don't loop around on the brickwork platform there, and instead they use this junction. Obviously this means there is cross interference between the two lines here when they cross over, but so be it. So we'll have a waypoint there. We already have a phone box as a waypoint. We don't want to use another one of those. It looks a bit weird. It's not even a phone box, it's a post box. What an idiot. Anyway, so after there, add station, there we go. So yes, they do have to cross over here, and they'll merge together here, but that's fine. Let's see how they get on. That should bump up, they might even bump up this to level 3 if we're lucky, because we're going to have increased demand on this, as we can see now. Portishead is now calling for bricks, not many of them, it's only a small town, but that's going to grow over time. And as it does so, it's likely going to tip this over into a level 3 industry, which in turn is going to have a knock-on effect on the amount of stone being produced over here at the quarry. So at that point we might be able to bump these trains back up to a 6 wagon consist. That's what I want to call it, that's better. So we'll see how we get on. As always, it's going to take a little time to bed these lines in. So what we'll do, we'll let the game run for just maybe 5 to 10 minutes or so. We'll have a little cut in the episode and we'll pick it back up, as I said, in those 5 or 10 minutes and see how these lines are actually getting on. So I'll see you in a second or two. Okay, so as we can see, our first few trucks are making the first few deliveries. Some are empty, as we can see here, but we have made around, in terms of bricks supplied, about six so far, 6 bricks in total. We had a couple of 2s and a couple of 1s, so far so good. I've also built this bypass road here, which just avoids this bus route, just to keep our road vehicles away from one another as best we can. Also cuts down on the journey time quite substantially as well, which is going to help our frequency and our rate and throughput. As we can see, we've got a almost full platform waiting for our trucks when they get back. Things are still looking good on the West Ham line. The balance is just about perfect, I think, so I don't need to make any change to that at this time. And as we can see, also more pleasingly, is the industry is now leveling up, and it's almost to level 3. Obviously this shipment bar is only just in the upgrade zone. I think the upgrade is 150 out of 200 and we're at 151, so no margin for error there. So if that starts to drop, as it just did there, alarmingly, then we might see this progress stop, but it looks like we're going to tip over. There we go. We've got a level 3 brickworks, and as I said, that's now going to call for more quarry down here. That's jumped to 300 instead of 200. So we should start seeing this platform fill up a lot faster, which might, as I said, mean we have to add another wagon to our consists, or we might be able to add another wagon to our consists, but we'll see. If nothing else, our trains aren't going to be sat around waiting nearly as long as they were previously, so that's all good. We're going to have to do some line balancing with our trucks into Portishead, but we can do that in the next episode, or I can do it off camera. I do have a little formula that I use that does tend to get you in a very, well, I wouldn't even say rough ballpark. It is quite close. Obviously, it's not 100% accurate, but it's a good enough estimation, and it's what I've used on this West Ham line. And as we can see, we're doing very well there. 103 out of 109. It's almost perfect, and it's even increasing just a little bit, although it does fluctuate, as we can see. So on average, I'd say we're doing about 103 perhaps out of 109, which is more than good enough for me. So I'll use the same formula for Portishead. Yeah, I'll no, I'll do it in the next episode, I think. I'll not do it off camera. That way I can explain or talk through the logic that I use. And then if anybody else would like to use it themselves and see if it works for them, by all means. I will say it's what I've used for all of my hard mode playthroughs. Obviously this is the only one I've done on camera, but I've done many of them off camera. And it always seems to do very well. And it seems to be working for us here because we've got a healthy enough cash flow. And we've got a decent amount in the bank. And I think what we'll do is to end the episode today, we'll start paying off some of this loan. So let's go ahead and pay off 2.5 million of this. There we go. So that's taken us down to 7.5 million. That's going to increase our cash flow ever so slightly. Obviously the interest isn't crippling even on hard mode. But it's better not to have it than to have it. And the moment we can be debt free is always a nice achievement in hard mode, especially if you've got a sustainable company, which as it stands at the moment we certainly do. Just before we end, we can see here the stone is building up very rapidly now on this platform. So in the next episode, we'll probably increase the consists back to 6 on these 2 trains. That's going to increase our profit margins that little bit more. And that's going to help us, obviously, in the long run as well. So far, so good. Now, obviously, in the last episode, we had a ride on the train to end things, so we'll not do that again today. I think what we'll do instead is, do we have one of our intercity buses nearby? Here no, that's the inner city bus. It's the green ones I want. There we go. Once that departs the station, we'll hop on board and have a ride over to Portishead. I didn't mean to pause it. Let's get on board. So let's get into a nice... Oh, hello. Yes, let's get into a nice comfortable position here. Somewhere where we can enjoy the scenery without the vehicle obstructing too much of our view. That's quite nice. Maybe we'll sit next to the driver. There we go. Although the 2 pillars are quite annoying, but that's better. We'll hang out the side. So yes, all that remains for me to say for now, ladies and gentlemen, is as always, you take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.